From the Smokin' Delta Voodoo release, that is Every Mother's Nightmare. That CD has been re-released on High Volume Music, and Every Mother's Nightmare will be playing at the Summer Bash. Is it called Summer Bash, Chris?
Summer Bash, it certainly is.
Yeah, Summer Bash, August 25th in Wooster, Ohio. Chris and I will be hosting that thing, and Every Mother's Nightmare will be performing along with Red Rain, Tough, Billy Morris Band. What is that other band called?
New Machine.
I keep forgetting them. New Machine. And what do we know about them again?
They're called New Machine.
All right. Where are they from? Are they local, or where are they from? Are they from somewhere else?
They're on High Volume Music.
Okay.
I don't know where they're from.
All right.
I honestly, I should know more, but I don't.
I'm sure before August rolls around, we may have some New Machine on the show.
I would they have a record getting ready to come out, so we will have that. And
all
we'll
right.
probably have them on. I would imagine leading into the show, we'll have all the bands on.
Right.
So we'll find out who the fuck New Machine is.
Right.
At some point.
Well, if you're a fan of our good friend Sammy Lee and the boys from Red Rain, they will also be on that bill. So if you are in the region or the area and can make it out to the show, I think you'll dig that as well.
Yeah. Jackal says, can I co-host? I'm going to say no, because I have a feeling he'll be drinking.
Nice.
And after the last show that he co-hosted, where he was a little bit drunk.
Just a little bit.
At the end. Still one of my favorite segments of all time. Just sitting there, and it was so good because Joe Cleon was just getting fucking pissed. And I just kept looking at him, and he was looking at me. And then John just kept fucking like high-fiving him and keeping him going. It was like winding up the stupid clock just one more time. And then Jackal would get quiet for like 1 second. He would stop, and then we'd start reading something, and he'd be like, then my dad said, fuck them niggers. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? We're talking about Overkill's new album. Oh. He'd go quiet for a second. Then he'd come back and be like, he said to beat him with a bat. And he'd start laughing.
So he was kind of time traveling in his head.
He really was on another fucking planet. And Joe was just getting so annoyed. And you know this, dude. I love that. Nothing makes me happier than when I get people uncomfortable.
Well, it seems like when you have multiple co-hosts, when Joe is involved, he gets irritated with at least one of them.
Well, it's easy to get irritated with John. He's a fucking idiot.
Well, I know that when Randy was co-hosting, you told me how Randy was irritating.
Not Joe. No,
I was getting to it. Our good friend
Michael Hannon
from American Dog.
Yeah. And that made me happy too. Hannon was so fucking pissed off, and even though I knew the microphone was off, I kept going, what do you think about that, Randy? And Randy would like wake up because he was so fucking stoned that he was falling asleep. But he would just wake up and he'd be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about, man. And he'd fade back out, and fucking Hannon would just look at me with just like ready to kill. And me and Rob Kern were just laughing our fucking ass off because Kern saw what I was doing. And I just love doing that shit. It's just fun.
Yeah. Well, when you had your book release party almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was there, and we were talking about the prison rape story where that, that person who thought she was a woman was a guy.
Yeah.
And Randy was kind of out of it at that point. He would go on this whole long dissertation.
Yep.
It's like, what are you talking about?
And everybody was like, shut up, Randy. And then I would just keep going, what do you think, Randy? I love uncomfortable radio, man.
Yeah.
That to me is fucking the best. I love when it gets uncomfortable. Hell, that show, we had a fucking fight in the living room, and I love that.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Me and John, I threw him over the fucking couch. And I came right back in here to do some radio. No, I was all pissed off. That was great.
Yeah.
I love that. Nothing makes me happier than when we fucking are very uncomfortable. I know you hate that, but I love it. That cringy feeling is worth it to me. Just because I know it may feel weird in the moment, but when you listen back to it like 6 months later, it sounds fucking great because it's so uncomfortable.
Right.
And you don't agree with me at all, do you?
No, again, everybody has their own thing. Me, I'm not a confrontational person.
Sure.
Even in relationships, whatever. It's just like when somebody wants to kick up the sand, I'm not gonna sit there and debate with them over something because it's pointless.
Right.
No matter what you say, when a person has their mind made up about something, no matter what you say, you're not going to change their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother.
Yeah, see, I like getting them going. I love it. I absolutely love it. Dude, one of my favorite interviews of all time is with Jackal. That one night when he was completely fucked up at the end of his Nostradamus run.
Yeah. That was, how many years ago was that?
Well, what, 10?
Yeah, at least.
10. But I got him talking in circles and got him uncomfortable. And that was the best. It was me, him, and Bill Peters out by the car. And we were talking. And I kept working this gay angle on Jim because he's like the biggest homophobe that there is. So I just kept working it and going around in circles. And then Bill started in on it. And then we would get him talking about Judas Priest, and somehow I would tie it into, well, he only likes them because they're gay. He would start screaming and hollering. It was so fucking funny. I love it. It's confrontational as fuck, and I run the risk constantly of getting punched, but I don't care.
Right.
So go ahead. It's funny.
Sure. Well, let me ask you a question here. You've flown commercial airlines.
Once or twice.
Yeah. So when you go through the security checkpoint,
mm-hmm.
what is required of you to get through a security checkpoint?
You mean all the steps you have to take?
Well, just two things that absolutely you have to get through a security checkpoint.
What, ID and what, your shoes off?
No, your boarding pass.
Oh, yeah, and your pass, sure.
Right. Those are the two absolutes.
Okay.
Are they going to let you through customs or security without your ID and without your boarding pass?
Shit, no. They only let you vote without those things.
Well, regardless of that, you can't go through security at an airport without it.
Right, sure.
If you, and I know you haven't done this recently, if ever, even if you wanted to go to Canada,
mm-hmm.
what do you have to do to go to Canada?
You got to have a passport. I know
absolutely.
That. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Got to have a passport.
Yeah.
Will they let you into Canada without a passport?
No.
No. They'll say, who are you? What are you doing here? Got a passport? No. Yeah. Can't come in here.
Beat it, pal.
So is it unreasonable for another country or an airline or even a liquor store who says, you want to buy that bottle of vodka? Can I see an ID?
Is that unreasonable? No.
Is it unreasonable?
Absolutely not. Why?
Well, I'm just setting this up.
Okay.
So are any of those steps unreasonable by any of those examples?
I don't think so, no.
Not at all. Well, apparently, I guess it's unreasonable if within 100 miles of a foreign border crossing, that would be Canada or Mexico, mm-hmm. that the Border Patrol would ask you for some kind of ID or some kind of, some kind of proof of who you are and what you're doing here. Is that reasonable or unreasonable?
Is it reasonable to ask within 100 miles?
Yeah, well, our laws indicate that within 100 miles of a border crossing, within 100 miles, that Border Patrol has the right to ask you for some kind of identification?
I don't see why it would be unreasonable.
Well, but the thing is we have a law that states that they have the right to ask you.
Yeah. I mean, seems a little, 100 miles seems a little far, but okay.
But that's what our
yeah, if that's the law, then that's the law.
That's the law. That's what our laws state, that within 100 miles of a border crossing, our immigration or Border Patrol has the right to ask anybody for any kind of ID or to identify yourself.
Okay.
It's just the law of the land.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with it.
Well, you don't have to agree with it, but the law is in place.
Well, your question was, is it reasonable?
Yeah.
And I would imagine, I mean, to me, that doesn't seem reasonable because 100 miles away, you might have no intention of going across the border.
Well, no, but you may have come across the border.
So you're saying, should it be reasonable to be stopped in like Erie because you crossed the border at Niagara Falls?
You could have crossed the Peace Bridge in Niagara Falls, sure.
And you're saying, is that reasonable?
Is that reasonable? Is that intrusive to ask you that?
I think so, yes. Honestly, yes.
Okay.
If they pass you at the border.
Yeah, but you're assuming you came through the border legally.
Oh, what are they doing? Are they picking you up walking the street?
I don't know the answer. Maybe you were driving a car. Maybe you got pulled over for an offense. And maybe
you have to show ID, though.
Well, again, is that unreasonable to ask you for ID?
Well, no, I don't think that is.
But let me just put it this way.
Here's what I'm not following, and
I'm not saying that they're just pulling you over for shits and giggles and saying, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
Is the reason they're stopping you because they think you crossed the border?
No, the reason they stopped you is because of
something else, a dead taillight or something.
Maybe.
Okay,
and they go, "Can I see your driver's license?" And you go, "Well, I don't have one." Well, okay. Where are you from? Well, I'm from Toronto, Canada. Well, do you have a passport? And you go, "No."
Okay.
Then what's the next question? It's just like, well, how did you get here without a passport, and what are you doing here?
Yeah, I mean, at some point you got to answer how you got the fuck in.
But. So that's the question I'm asking. It's just like, so if Border Patrol asks you to present some kind of ID, is that out of question or unreasonable for asking that?
If Border Patrol asks you 100 miles away, I still say yes. If the police of the town 100 miles away do, I say no. The Border Patrol shouldn't have any jurisdiction away from the border.
But our laws that are established here in our country say within 100 miles of the border,
yeah,
that they have the right to do that.
And your question was, is that reasonable or not? And I say not.
Okay, but you don't agree with it. But if it's the law, will you comply if it's the law?
I would comply if it is the law.
Yes.
And I would bitch the whole way.
Okay. Well, okay, you could bitch about it, but the thing is, it's still the law.
I mean, yeah, I'm saying I would definitely agree. I would definitely not go to jail over it. I'll put it that way. I would not go to jail over it, but at the same time, the Border Patrol, that's their job, is the Border Patrol.
Right.
And if you can't see the border, then you shouldn't be being stopped by its patrol officers.
Okay, very, very good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the shithole known as Detroit?
Heard of it.
Are you familiar how close they are to the Canadian border?
Yes.
How close are they?
They're real close. I mean, that's definitely, you could throw a rock across the river and hit it.
There you go. That's how close Detroit is to the Canadian border.
Sure.
You can cross the Windsor Bridge or the tunnel and get into Detroit or vice versa.
Right.
That's how close they are. You could see Detroit from Windsor, and you could see Windsor from Detroit.
Right. Okay.
That's how close they are.
Mm-hmm.
If a border patrol were to ask somebody in Detroit about their passport or whatever, is that unreasonable?
Why is the border patrol in Detroit? Because I know where you're trying to go with this, but I'm not following. Why would they be in Detroit?
Because
why wouldn't they be at wherever the gate is that the crossing is?
Well,
why would they be at some city that's not at the crossing location?
Well, but Detroit is at the crossing.
No, the crossing is at the border.
Well, Detroit is on the border.
It's near the border. It's not there's a part of Detroit that's the border, but if you're in downtown hell in Detroit, there shouldn't be border patrol there.
Well, let me get into this then.
All right, go get into it, because I think I'm probably arguing something that's different than where you're trying to get.
All right. At a Greyhound bus terminal in Detroit in January, federal immigration agents stopped and questioned a Latino couple on their way to Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, 23-year-old Walter Pena was arrested because he could not prove his immigration status.
And why was he stopped?
Well, I'm assuming that they were doing random checks.
See, I'm not down with the random check.
All right. It was racial profiling, said Abriel Sebney, 21, the fiance of Pena.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just they shouldn't treat Spanish people like that.
Okay.
That same month, passengers on another Greyhound bus traveling from Detroit were questioned at a stop in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Those who could not prove that they were living in the U.S. legally were detained.
By Border Patrol people?
Yes.
In Cleveland?
It didn't say Cleveland. It said Ohio.
Well,
Toledo is only 60 miles from Detroit.
And Detroit is how many miles from the border?
They're right on the border.
So basically you're looking at like 80 miles between Toledo and the border?
No, you're looking at only 60 because it's right across the bridge from
Okay.
Detroit.
Still seems kind of far to me,
Well,
but okay.
But our laws say 100 miles.
I agree. And look, I'm not contesting that part. And again, I'm not down at all with fucking random stops of anybody. As much as I fucking hate that these fucking pieces of shit are here illegally, you know what? I don't want to be questioned because I got long fucking hair why I'm in a rich neighborhood. So therefore, I don't want anybody questioned because they don't look like they fit.
Right.
I mean, fucking walk up on their car and break the tail light or something if you're going to fucking stop somebody. That's what the cops used to do in the old days.
Right.
Just walk up and give that light a little baton hit on the way up to the front of the car.
Sure.
Come on.
Last month at an Amtrak station in Dearborn, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Nolish, a 37-year-old U.S. citizen who is Latino and serving in the military, said he was the only person on a train interrogated by 2 U.S. Border Patrol agents who boarded the train with a police dog.
Okay.
Many Latinos and immigrants say that these types of sweeps by Border Patrol agents are playing out in Metro Detroit, which is at the border,
Mm-hmm.
with more frequency because of the Trump administration
I don't know about all that.
increased targeting of immigrants.
Yeah, well, look, we've had this conversation before on every level. You unfortunately have to answer for the person before you. And if the bulk of the people that are breaking the law coming into the country are fucking Latino, well, then you're going to be profiled.
Right.
Fuck you with your, we shouldn't be profiling. Okay, well, just like we always say about the racism thing. What would you rather? Would you rather have people that are outwardly racist or secretly racist? Then everybody says that they don't want, they don't want to hear it, so they want secretly racism. Okay, well, fine. Guess what happens with profiling? Now you're going to get profiled, but you're going to get profiled in a way where they'll just fucking knock down one white guy every once in a while to say that we're doing it equally. That's just the way it is. But yeah, Latinos are the bulk of the fucking illegal immigrants, so they're going to be fucking profiled that way.
Right.
They're going to be stopped. And, does it suck that this person that's a soldier and American citizen and all that shit fucking got stopped? Yeah, it fucking blows, but sucks to be you. Talk to your fucking second cousin Jose and tell him to stay over in fucking Mexico.
Right.
Stop fucking crossing the border illegally, you fucking asshole.
82% of foreign citizens stopped by the Border Patrol in Michigan are Latino, says the ACLU.
47%?
No. It says that 82%.
Oh, 82%?
Yeah.
What is the percentage of illegal immigrants in this country that are Latino?
I would say that probably it's in the
probably
high...
about 82%?
Probably 82 to 90%.
Yeah. So then sounds about right.
Yeah. It's a high probability.
Yeah. Sounds about that the percentages are sort of working out.
Yep. Civil rights activists call it racial profiling and targeting of poor immigrant populations who use the mass transit system.
Okay.
But the entire state of Michigan falls within the 100-mile border zone that gives the federal immigration agents extra power to search people or vehicles.
Okay.
For many, the result has been stressful, and when resulting in arrest or detention, devastating.
Mm-hmm. So is the question who's doing the arresting, or is the question should they be arrested?
No, the question is, the Border Patrol is doing their job within legal boundaries.
Okay.
But because it's stressful and devastating because of feelings, they shouldn't be allowed to do that because it's making people feel bad.
Oh, well, fuck that.
And it's creating a climate of fear.
Show me and maybe you have this handy because I know you're astute when it comes to the to law.
Yes.
Can you quote me the legal verbiage that says that you're due to not be offended?
No, there is no legal verbiage. I'm sorry.
Is there legal verbiage somewhere that says that you're never allowed to be scared of anything?
No.
Oh, well. Then these people need to stop whining.
So if they get detained or arrested because they don't have the proper identification, or if they don't have a passport, or if they can't prove that they belong here, then it makes them feel bad.
No, tough shit. Fuck you. Guess what? Keep your wallet in your pocket next time, fucky.
Or if you're not here, if you're here and you're not supposed to be here, you're going to go back where you came from.
Right. Well, I'm for that. The one piece of it that you're talking about, I'm just not down with the fucking random search. Fuck that. Because that can just be stretched anywhere. If you allow random search, what stops them from coming into your fucking house? Doing whatever, arresting you because you have an illegal password for a TV channel or something.
Right.
I mean, there should be cause. I'm always about cause. Now you can find cause. You can certainly find cause somewhere. if you really suspect somebody, just follow them for a little bit. Then there'll be cause. You'll find something that they do that's fucked up. They'll park too close to a hydrant or some shit.
Right.
And then you arrest them. And then you find out that they're fucking here illegally, and you throw their ass back.
Sure. It impacts the entire community regardless of your status, says Angelina Reyes, executive director of the Detroit Hispanic Development Corporation, which is based in Southwest Detroit. We have Border Patrol sometimes sitting outside of our building, and we have to go out and ask them to leave.
Okay.
At the Greyhound bus terminal near the entrance to the Lodge Freeway in Detroit, which, by the way, leads to the Windsor Bridge.
Okay.
Border Patrol agents with U.S. Customs and Border Protection often patrol the station, observing passengers and questioning them. In response, the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, of Michigan and other ACLU branches sent a letter in March to Greyhound asking it to stop allowing immigration agents to board buses to question passengers, saying it violated their, get this, constitutional rights. Now, if you're here illegally, do you have constitutional rights?
No.
No, you don't.
Yeah. You're a criminal.
Yeah. Under U.S. border regulations, agencies can patrol and stop people 100 miles from an international border, which includes the entire state of Michigan. It's not the entire state. Michigan is bigger than 100 miles. And about 2/3 of the U.S. population. In the lawsuit filed in 2016, the ACLU also asked CBP to provide data on its stops in Michigan.
Okay.
According to the data collected by the ACLU, there is a clear pattern of agents targeting Latinos, including citizens, despite the fact that the vast majority are not criminals. So can you just sit there and pick and choose and say, well, I can't ask this guy because obviously he's not a criminal?
See, to me, to you, it's an easy, to you, you're like, fuck it. Ask them all and throw the fucking bad ones out. I'm just not sold on the whole no cause, no reason to be fucking with people. I don't want to be fucked with. You know, unless I'm doing something illegal, I don't want to be fucked with. And I don't want anybody else. I don't want, Jose fucked with if he's not doing anything fucking illegal.
Well, this goes back to my point about, going to an airport.
Mm-hmm.
You aren't doing anything illegal by standing in line to get on a plane, are you?
No.
Do they ask you for your ID?
Yeah.
Why?
Because that's what validates you going to the next thing.
Well, there you go.
But if you're not going anywhere, if you're just if you're not crossing the border, then you shouldn't have to fucking show your papers, like 40s Germany.
Well, if you went to a liquor store and you wanted to buy, a case of vodka, and they ask you, hey, can I see your ID? Are you going to say, I'm 49 years old?
How many homeless are there in Indiana?
No idea.
More than one?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Of those homeless people, how many do you think have IDs?
Probably not many.
Okay, should they all be fucking murdered because they can't prove anywhere that they live?
Murdered? Who's murdering them?
Well, I'm just saying, well, you can't, where are you going to send them if you don't know where they're from? Because they have no way to prove that they're American citizens or fucking immigrants. See what I'm saying?
No, you got to say it right. You got to go, know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying, home?
But Indiana is not next to a border.
Okay, but you think that I would imagine there's quite a few homeless in fucking Detroit.
I'm sure there is, but I'm sure they're not hanging out in the homeless area.
My point is that you can't prove unless they're doing something you can't prove. Random searches for no fucking reason just is not right. There's no way I think that you'll ever get me to concede that part.
Well, I'm not asking you to concede it. I'm just saying that within the laws that are established in this country,
the Border Patrol can stop.
Yeah, they can ask you for your ID within 100 miles of an international border.
What I would like to know is, do they have to have cause, though?
No, they don't have to have cause.
They don't have to have cause.
Not within 100 miles, no.
I guess you have to produce it, but I hate that law.
Well, regardless if you hate it or not, it's still an established law, and it's within their rights to do that.
Yeah, I guess I'm not arguing that point. I don't think that that's right at all, to be fucking forced to show proof that you belong there when you're not doing anything. That just seems very fucking Nazi-ish to me.
You mean you didn't do nothing?
I didn't do nothing.
All right. According to the data collected by the ACLU, there is a clear pattern of agents targeting Latinos, including citizens, despite the fact that the vast majority are not criminals. Almost 1 in 3 people processed by the Border Patrol agents in Michigan are U.S. citizens. 1 in 3. That means 2 out of 3 are not citizens.
Okay.
So that's a pretty high percentage. That is 2/3 are people who probably don't belong here.
Yeah. Beat it.
82% of the foreign citizens stopped by the CBP in Michigan are Latino. Less than 2% of foreign citizens stopped by Michigan have a criminal record. Well, the thing is that you don't have to have a record. If you came here illegally, you broke the law.
Well, yeah. And once you're convicted of it, then you'll have the record.
Yeah. The common trend in the report received by the ACLU of Michigan is that the CBP agents operating on Greyhound buses focus on persons of color and never give passengers a reason for the stop. The data strongly suggests that the CBP is using ethnicity as the basis for the stop.
Okay.
Similar incidents this year in Florida, New York, and Maine have gotten widespread attention, in part through videos documenting the encounters. While accusations of profiling by immigration agents are not new, they have increased since the administration of President Donald Trump toughened the immigration enforcements. U.S. Customs and Border Protection denies it targets people based on race.
Yeah, because what are they going to do? Admit it?
Exactly.
What are they going to do? Do you guys profile based on race? Yes, we do. Yeah, they're never going to admit to that.
Of course not.
Come on. And of course they should target based on race. I'm 100% for profiling. Absolutely. If you're wearing a hijab, you should be fucking pulled off the fucking street and found. That's probable cause enough, isn't it?
Right.
Now, to me, that's probable cause. You can't speak English, that's probable cause. In my world, that's probable cause. But I don't know. I hate this story because there's no like definitive good way to deal with it.
No, there isn't. But the thing is within the law, because that's what they base everything on in court.
Yeah.
That within 100 miles of an international border, the Border Patrol has the just cause to say, hey, can I see your passport?
Yeah, I get it.
Can I see your ID?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. And yeah, they're not breaking any laws. It's just a really shitty way to do business.
Sure. It is the policy of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection to prohibit the consideration of race or ethnicity in law enforcement investigation and screening activities in all but the most exceptional circumstances. CBP is fully committed to the fair, impartial, and respectful treatment of members of the trade and the traveling public.
What is CBP? Canadian Border Police?
It's the, let's see, what is it? CBP. It's like the, what is it? CBP?
I said Canadian Border Police. Is that what it sort of is? I mean, it doesn't have to be exactly that, but is that what they are?
It's the Border Patrol.
Okay. Canadian Border Patrol. All right.
Let's see here. Where would I leave off here? U.S. Customs, it's Customs and Border Patrol.
Okay.
We already got past that. Okay, here we go. For Sebeny, S-E-B-E-N-Y, a U.S. citizen born in Peru, the experience of being profiled and her boyfriend arrested was probably the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Was the boyfriend illegal?
He was. Sebeny said that she and Pena, an immigrant from El Salvador who is undocumented.
Oh, illegal.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how did he get in here?
Snuck in.
Well, does that break the law?
Yeah.
So he gets arrested.
Yeah, of course. I have no pity for that guy.
Right. They were waiting to transfer to a bus to take them to Detroit back to Grand Rapids where they live.
Okay.
She said 3 agents with Border Patrol came toward her and Pena after spotting them and started asking questions. Where are you from? And how did you enter the U.S.? Pena doesn't speak too much English, Sebeny told the agents when they started directing their questioning at him.
Yeah.
I can answer for you if you want. He told me to shut up. I'm not asking you anything.
Yeah. Well, this part I have no problem at all with.
Well, this is the problem, though, according to the story. That they said, we're not talking to you, ma'am. We're talking to this guy.
And she's upset about this?
She's upset about this, yeah.
She's horrified and outraged?
Basically, yeah. Offended.
Yeah, fuck her.
The agents then arrested Pena, telling Sebeny that they will be back in 15 minutes to an hour. But no one ever came back, leaving her confused and worried.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a little shitty.
Well, I don't know if that actually happened or not, but according to the story, it did.
They might just have wanted to tell her, fuck you, we're taking him to the fucking border.
Yeah. I waited at the station and he never came. I called the number that they gave me and he never came. I'm not from Detroit. I don't know where to go. I had to stay in a hotel for a week. For a week.
Why don't you just leave?
Like many immigrant detainees, they're not immigrants. They're illegals.
Yeah.
They're not immigrants. Sorry, I hate to break it to you, but you're not an immigrant.
Yeah.
You're an illegal. You're here illegally.
Yeah.
Pena was transferred several times to different jails, where he eventually released on bond and is currently living in Grand Rapids.
So wait, whoa. So they after all that, they let him stay
on a bond because according to our laws, they set up a trial date and you're supposed to come back for the trial. But
so this fucking jizzbag's just going to disappear.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing. They according to the way that we set up things here in our system, is they say, well, you need to come back in 2 months for a trial. Well, 9 times out of 10, they never come back.
Why can't they just have the trial?
I don't know the answer.
I mean, fuck, leave him in prison until the trial. Let him stay locked down since he has no way to prove he shouldn't be in jail.
Right.
He's still a fucking criminal. Fuck.
An undocumented immigrant, the Constitution worker, came to the U.S. from El Salvador 7 years ago and hopes to remain in the U.S. with 70. So he's basically been ducking the law for 7 years.
Yeah.
But he got caught.
So he had a good run. See ya.
Yeah.
70 better fucking go get herself a sundress, because it sounds like she might need to move.
Exactly. They're creating a climate of fear, said Abriel Valadez.
Yeah, you know what that fear is? If you're here illegally, you should fear being thrown out the fucking country.
Or getting caught.
Yeah, fear that.
Yeah, but see, we're not supposed to create that environment of fear.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
They should rest easy at night knowing that it's perfectly fine for them to be here without any documentation or be here legally.
I would love to know what kind of aid these two are on. Wouldn't you? I guarantee you they're not two productive people that are going out working a job and taking care of business.
No, of course not. They're riding a Greyhound.
Yeah. I guarantee you they're on the system. That's her fear, is that she's not going to have enough to fucking pay for her 1-bedroom, 300-square-foot apartment.
Right.
Ugh.
An immigrants' rights attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union of Michigan. The problem is they're stopping people based on racial profiling. In addition to being discriminatory, such practices don't help in protecting the public and will make Latinos and immigrants more reluctant to trust and work with the police. How is installing fear in people any benefit to anyone? How is this protecting us?
How is this protecting us?
Yeah, these people who are illegal, they're not going to be interacting with the police to begin with.
Really? Do I have to pull up news story after news story after news story about illegals that are here killing people? There's a fucking 100 of them in the last year. It is protecting to arrest them. Whatever. People are just fucking stupid.
In March 21st letter to Greyhound, ACLU attorney Michael Steinberg of the Michigan ACLU office criticized Greyhound's practice of permitting the CBP agents to routinely board the buses to question passengers about their citizenship and their immigration status.
Well, they're why are they going to break the law? Because people don't want their feelings hurt.
Yeah, it's not the job of Greyhound to protect people who are breaking the law.
Greyhound's job is to see a badge, do what they say.
Yeah.
It's their job.
Yeah, that's it.
Boy, this is an ugly story.
What is Greyhound going to do? Sorry, they're immigration official, but you're not allowed on our bus.
You're not getting on our bus, pal.
Yeah.
That fucking bus will be impounded quicker than they can fucking grab the illegals off of it.
Of course.
Jesus Christ.
Citing several cases, including 2 in Michigan this year, just 2. The ACLU said these intrusive encounters often evince, I don't even know what that word is, a blatant discard for passenger constitutional rights. Well, once again, if you're not a citizen here, you're not protected by our Constitution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even resulted in the CBP agents removing passengers from the buses and arresting them.
Well, if they're here illegally, yeah, if I walk into a bank after hours and refuse to leave, are they going to just say, well, you can stay because we don't want to hurt your feelings?
No.
They're going to fucking club me and fucking drag me out and put me in a cell.
Exactly.
And where's the fucking logic here? Let's have a little bit of logic, you fucking douchebags at the ACLU. Jesus Christ.
Greyhound's cooperation with the CBP is unnecessarily facilitating the violation of passengers' rights. They have no rights. If you're not here legally, you have no rights.
Yeah.
None.
If you're pulled off the bus and arrested and you are here legally, your rights have been violated. And therefore, that person can sue. But if they're fucking illegals, they can't fucking... They have no rights to be violated. None. They're here illegally, just like the bank fucking scenario. They're where they're not supposed to be. Period. Jesus. Why is this hard?
Valdez said UCLA or ACLU wants Greyhound to exercise its Fourth Amendment rights and tell federal agents to not board the buses.
Yeah, they're not going to fucking pay attention to you.
No, of course not. In a statement by the Free Press, Greyhound spokesman person Lanesha Gibson said, "We understand the ACLU's concerns and those of our customers with regard to this matter. However, Greyhound is required to comply with the law.
Yeah.
We are aware that the routine transportation checks not only affect our operations, but our customers' travel experience, and we will continue to do everything legally possible to minimize any negative experiences."
Right.
Greyhound has opened a dialogue with the Border Patrol to see whether there is anything that can be done to balance the enforcement of federal law with the dignity and the privacy of our valued customers.
Right.
Gibson said that Greyhound is following federal laws that give federal agents more power in areas within 100 miles of the international border, which includes the entire state of Michigan, to inspect vehicles, aircraft, and rail cars.
Right.
Grogan, a spokesman for the CBP, also cited the 100-mile zone in federal law in defending Border Patrol actions on Greyhound buses. For decades, the U.S. Border Patrol has been performing enforcement actions away from the immediate border in direct support of border enforcement efforts and as a means of preventing trafficking, smuggling, and other criminal organizations from exploiting our public and private transportation infrastructure to travel to the interior of the United States. These operations serve as a vital component of the U.S. Border Patrol's national security efforts. Although most Border Patrol work is conducted in the immediate border area, agents have broad law enforcement authorities and are not limited to a specific geographic area within the United States. They have the authority to question individuals, make arrests, and take and consider evidence. The presence of Border Patrol is also seen at train stations.
Okay.
Nolish said he experienced profiling one day last month at a train stop in Dearborn, Michigan. Nolish, who was born Miguel Guerrero in Colombia, came to the U.S. as an adopted child by parents in Huntington Woods. He said he has been taking a train since he was 14 years old and never had a problem. But on April 13th, he was traveling back to Detroit from Chicago when two Border Patrol agents and their dogs boarded the train at a scheduled stop in Dearborn. Walking down the aisle, the agents zeroed in on Nolish, who was sitting next to his friend Lauren Hood. The police dog sniffed around. They stopped by us and stopped by our seats. There was an absolute focus on me. They looked at my mannerisms and my lips moving.
The dogs did?
Well, according to him, the Border Patrol were looking at him.
But the dogs were somehow attracted to her.
Well, him. They said that the dogs stopped by him.
Yeah, so the dogs don't give a shit if you're fucking Mexican or white or black.
Right.
They smell fucking weed.
Whatever it was.
Weed or coke or something.
Yeah. Nolish said that The agents then walked down the aisle, and when they came back, they stopped by their seats again. They ignored Lauren, and then they looked at me.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you coming from? An agent asked. I said, Chicago. He looked at me and said, where did this train start? Is that where the train started? Was it in Chicago? I said, yes. And they kind of just stared at me.
Mm-hmm.
The agents then left.
Okay.
So apparently that was a problem.
That doesn't seem like that big of a deal.
Well, according to him, it was. Because they should have never even stopped and looked at him.
Okay.
Hood informed Nolish's account of what happened. A CBP spokesman did not comment on the case, but said their agency doesn't racially profile.
Yeah.
So basically, if you were picked out of a crowd and you were asked a question,
Mm-hmm.
you're being intrusive.
So the reality for every race except white is that if anybody other than a white guy is picked, it's racist.
Basically, yes.
Yeah. You know what? Eat a bag of fucking racist dicks. Fuck you. Fuck them. It is profiling and it's going to continue.
Well,
Shut up.
here's the thing. Nothing happened to this guy.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for his ID.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't roust him. They just said, hey, where are you from? Where are you coming from?
Right.
Have you been pulled over by the police for a speeding ticket?
Yep.
Have they ever asked you where are you coming from and where are you going to?
Sure.
Did you say you're racially profiling me?
I just got out of my car and curled up in a ball. Laid on the ground scared.
Well, I could tell you that this just happened to me not even a little bit over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my way back from my sister's house during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I got pulled over in a small town just east of where I live here, about 60 miles east of here.
Mm-hmm.
Guy pulled me over for no apparent reason.
Okay.
No apparent reason. He didn't even give me a reason for pulling me over.
Mm-hmm.
All he was checking to see is if I was inebriated.
Sure.
And he asked me, where are you coming from? Where are you going to? Let me see your license.
Yeah.
Gave it to him. He ran it, came back. Okay, you're free to go.
Mm-hmm.
Did that make the papers?
Nope.
Did that get in the Facebook?
No, because you don't have Facebook.
Well, but it didn't make a story but the guy pulled me over.
Yeah.
And he asked me for an ID and asked me where I was coming from, where I went to, or where I was going to.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that happens all the time. But it's our white privilege.
I see.
You know, because I a couple years ago, I forget, 2, 3, whatever it was, I went to see Dave Meniketti in I think in Akron.
Yeah.
And I went with John, and we had quite a few drinks. And I drove back, and I dropped John off, and it was about 1 a.m. And where John lives, you have to pass a police station. Like, you come to a light, and then you pass a police station.
Okay.
As soon as I passed the police station, I got pulled. And I was like, fuck, this isn't going to be good. And cop pulls me over. He says to me, you know, he didn't make me get out or anything. He goes, where are you coming from? And I told him. He goes, do you have any drinks tonight? And I said, yeah, I had a few. And he's like, well, how many is a few? I was like, I don't know. I was there from 7 o'clock. You know, I know not to say 2 beers. That's just fucking stupid. You know, but I just told him, I said, yeah, I had a few. I was there from 7 o'clock until, you know, an hour ago, but I wasn't drinking the whole time. And he's like, well, our you know, he looked at me and I said, do I look drunk? And he goes, well, your eyes are a little glassy. And I was like, dude, it's 1 a.m. I've been going since 6 a.m. And he's like, all right, well, be careful. Get home. I was like, okay. And that was it. And I just pulled back on the road and drove home. Simple as that.
How come you didn't post that on Facebook?
I should have. But I'm posting it now on the classic.
How come you didn't call the ACLU and say you were being harassed for being asked a question?
Yeah, though they harassed me.
When I was reading the story, I was thinking back to a old Dirty Harry movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about, you know, basically rousting criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And Clint Eastwood says in the movie, well, what did you expect me to do? Just yell trick or treat at him?
Nice. Yeah. you got to fucking bust some heads sometimes.
Sometimes you got to ask questions. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, well, it's a weird. This is a weird scenario, and I'm with. Look, if they're here illegally, I don't give a fuck what they do to them. I really, quite honestly, because I have no human compassion, kill them. I'm fine with kill them.
Well, I'm not for killing them, but the thing is if a border patrol right at the border comes onto a public transportation and says, show me your passport or your ID, that's just normal fare. And if you get caught without an ID or a passport, or you can't prove you belong here, do I know that you're not a terrorist?
You don't.
Do I know that you're not carrying a dirty bomb?
Nope.
Do I know anything about you?
Nope.
What are you doing here? You obviously avoided the border immigration. When I was a truck driver back in the early 90s, I had to go through the Canadian border all the time. And, this is pre 9/11. But even then, I had to go into immigration and customs oftentimes.
Sure.
And I had to go through their whole check, their random check. And I didn't go, you're not allowed to ask me that. You're harassing me, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm coming into your country. You don't have to let me in here.
Right.
But they asked me questions. Where were you born? Where do you live? Let me see your ID. Let me see your driver's license. And I had to give them all that.
Yeah.
But I didn't sit there and go, man, you're racially profiling me, man.
Dude, in a lot of the world, most of the world, if you come into their country illegally, you are either jailed forever or killed.
Right.
In a lot of the world. And you know what doesn't happen in those countries? People don't cross the fucking borders illegally. How many people do you think in a year break into North Korea?
It's hardly never.
Probably what? One a decade? Two a decade?
I would agree with that.
How many do you think break in illegally to Uzbekistan or Afghanistan or Turkey? How many would you imagine? How many people do you think try to illegally settle in Syria? Do you think a lot of people do?
I doubt you could count them all on one hand.
And why do you think that is?
You wouldn't go there.
You wouldn't go there because you know that if you got caught, your life is done.
You're done.
You're done. And we need to have that kind of fucking thing here. You think I'm kidding. I'm not. You want to end this fucking illegal immigration shit? Let's fucking start killing them. Let's just fucking, if you come across that border illegally, you're dead. Fuck this fucking, you won't have any more of this fucking law bullshit. You know what? I'll compare illegal aliens to fucking babies at the abortion clinic. They're the same. They're unwanted, so they should be murdered. Period. And I'm not even kidding. If you just fucking murder them, then it will stop. If you knock up a chick and you take her to the clinic and she murders her baby, then you don't have that problem anymore, right? Is that right?
That is true.
So if you take an illegal that comes here illegally and does nothing to get themselves here legally and gets caught, murder them. Guess what? The rest of their family won't try and break in either. The same fucking concept. I definitely say that illegal immigration should be treated the same way as an unwanted baby.
Right.
Just murdered. Just do it. Fucking tired of these fucking assholes.
Well,
and with my plan, you don't have all these problems that you're talking about either. With my plan, you don't have the ACLU worrying about profiling, do you?
Not at all.
Unless you're profiling what bullets you use to shoot them. That's it. Murder them. There you go.
Nolish, a policy advisor at the Northwest Detroit Community Benefits Coalition, who serves in the Michigan Air National Guard and U.S. Air Force is running for state representative in the 4th District in Hamtramck and Detroit, said of his experience, there are people who are naturalized citizens who are seen as a threat. Are they seen as a threat?
No.
We have these restrictive policies set up to protect the country, and they make people feel like they're a problem. These policies suggest that my skin color is a detriment, and I think that's wrong.
Nobody's saying that.
Not at all.
That has not been said at all. The skin color's not a detriment. The fact that you're here illegally is the detriment.
Right.
God.
Amtrak spokesman Mark Maglieri said Amtrak cooperates fully with federal authorities and federal law. Amtrak customers 18 years of age and older must carry valid photo identification.
Mm-hmm.
Maglieri did not comment on the issue of racial profiling. At the Greyhound Terminal in Detroit, immigration advocates have been handing out flyers reminding passengers of their rights.
Mm-hmm.
Border Patrol agents often appear at the station twice a day around 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. On the recent Wednesday, 2 Border Patrol agents, a man and a woman, were seen entering the station shortly after 7 p.m. to inspect passengers. They entered one of the immigration agents fist bumped with the Amtrak employee, and the pair then stood by a row of telephone booths watching closely as a row of passengers lined up to board the bus for Chicago. No arrest appeared to have been made that day.
Well, thank God for that.
Well, here's the crux of the whole thing.
Okay.
I feel hurt that Sebany and 21-year-old whose husband Pena was arrested at the same station in January. Sebany, who is expecting a child with Pena, is now fighting for her husband to stay in the U.S.
Yeah, well, you're not going to win because he's not here legally.
Yeah, he came here illegally.
Yeah. Look, just because you fucked an illegal alien doesn't mean that he gets to stay.
Right.
Your kid does, unfortunately, but you don't. But he doesn't.
Well, see, here's the question that I had out of this story. Where did the idea come from that no one can be questioned as to whether they're here legally or not?
Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, where does this idea that this indignity that somehow that, hey, let me see your ID. That's indignity. You're making me feel bad for asking me that question.
Dude, I still can't figure out how we got to this point when you think about fucking 9/11. When you think about 9/11, which wasn't that long ago, we were ready to throw everybody out that wasn't in this fucking place illegally, or legally rather. And now what? Now we're going to do our best to fucking protect people that are definitely going to fucking do something bad to us.
Well, when do feelings trump just everything about everything?
Well, to me, never. I don't really give a fuck what you feel. Don't fucking break the law.
You made me feel bad about this, and you asked for my ID, and you made me feel bad about that.
Yeah, so suck it up, Buttercup. Fucking A.
Thank you, Rev.
Yeah, no shit.
So I just thought that you would enjoy the thought process out there that if you dare ask anybody, hey, let me see your ID, let me see your passport.
Yeah,
you can't get on a plane without a passport. You can't go into Canada without a passport.
Right.
You can't go to a liquor store if you look too young to buy liquor without an ID. Mm-hmm. So why is living in this country or entering this country any different?
Well, it's not. It's not. It's just like everything else. People are trying to complain just to complain. You know, this is a cause somebody can make money off of, probably the ACLU.
Right.
Because I'm sure they get paid by some fucking government grants for representing these fucking jizzballs. You know, there's a reason they're doing it. They're not doing it because they give a fuck about these fucking issues. they're getting funded. Somebody's funding it, whether it's George Soros or some other immigration company or something. Somebody's funding the ACLU's defense of these fucking scumbags. Don't you think?
Well, again, why would anybody take up this cause unless it was beneficial to somebody?
Yeah, well, that's it. Financial. There's finance somewhere. We just don't know where. But I hate that story, by the way.
Well, I'm sure you do.
Might be my least favorite story of all time on this show.
But the thing is, as a white guy with white privilege, I have been asked for my ID and questioned many times on various occasions in various circumstances. And never once did I go, you're profiling me, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's just like, you just comply and go about your business. If you got nothing to hide,
right,
and you're within your rights and within the law, you've got nothing to worry about. The only reason you have what was the term that I used, climate of fear, is because you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? If you're a citizen here and somebody said, hey, can I see your driver's license? And it said, yeah, it says Emmanuel Escobar, Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah.
And you have a legal ID, chances are they're going to go, okay, go on your way. Well, why did you pick me? Why did you ask me?
Because every other Escobar I've asked has been an illegal alien. So you're, of course, going to be picked.
Right. But I've been picked.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm a white guy. But you never hear those stories.
Yeah,
many times have I been picked.
Yeah, of course not. For any of this to work, for any of it to work, you have to have innocent people that are picked as well. And no one wants to be picked. And, this Escobar guy that you just said that would be innocent, yeah, that sucks that he got fucking picked. But you know what? That's the breaks. Move to Montana. You'll never be profiled for fucking Border Patrol again.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, when I flew last year, I think it was when I flew to Philadelphia. When I went through the security check at the airport,
yeah,
I got pulled off to the side and had my hands swiped for bomb making materials.
Nice.
But never once did I say, why are you doing that to me? Why did you pick me up? Because I have long hair? Did you do that because I have long hair? Do you think I make bombs? Do I look like the Unabomber?
Right.
No, they swipe my hands with the whatever that compound is to see if you had any, kind of residue on your fingers.
Well, dude, you might remember this. You remember I got stopped at security once with an XM radio because I had the XM and the antenna and shit in my bag.
Yeah.
Because I was going to Texas, and I knew I was going to spend a good amount of time in the car, so I didn't want to listen to fucking radio. So I brought my XM radio with me. Well, when I got there, they opened the bag, and they found all these wires and shit. The big, long antenna wire and the dock for the thing and whatever. And they told me to turn it on, and I couldn't because it runs on car battery.
Right.
So I couldn't turn it on, and they fucking pulled me out and took me in the back and actually took the fucking XM and tested it in a truck to make sure that it worked and that it wasn't a bomb. And then they let me go, but they did pull me out. That was the one time they pulled me out, put me in the back room. Made me miss a flight. Assholes.
Did you say, why did you pull me for?
I didn't say shit. I was like, just let me get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that's it. Like, okay, I get you're doing your job and, it looks suspicious and all that shit, but, whatever.
I mean, I was annoyed. I was annoyed that I was like now 3 hours delayed till the next flight, but whatever. At least I didn't go to jail. They could have fucking arrested me and not fucking given me my due process either. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. Not guilty, Your Honor. It really is a radio. But yeah, it was an ordeal. It happens.
But it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But what did you do? Did you sit there and scream and yell about it? And say that they were profiling you?
Fuck no. I sat quietly in the room until they handed me my radio back and apologized to me and told me to beat it.
Right.
They were actually pretty cool about it. Then they took me to the gate and got me another ticket. So, they went to the airplane people, I guess, and told them that, I had missed the flight because I had been temporarily detained. And then they gave me a new flight. But it wasn't a horrible experience. It wasn't great, but it really wasn't the worst thing in the world.
But it happens, though.
I lived through it somehow.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Surprised you're still here to tell the story.
I know. It's amazing that I didn't just call the ACLU immediately to sue for it. I should have, apparently. Oh, they wouldn't have repped me. I'm a white guy.
Right.
Idiots.
Yeah.